Okay, here on my next slide, I've got an example of a TRIAC structure paragraph in a literary analysis essay. So this will give you an idea how it'll work. I'll just go ahead and read it off. In the poem To My Dear and Loving Husband, Anne Bradstreet's rapid shifts in figurative language create a vivid intensity to emphasize her love for her husband, Simon Bradstreet. Notice how I do have like a literary term right in there, figurative language. That helps me like keep away from just veering into doing summary. I'm talking about something structural. And this is the topic sentence. It represents the biggest, most important ideas of the paragraph. Next sentence, she writes, my love is such that rivers cannot quench. Thy love is such I can in no way repay. So we've got two lines here. Notice the slash showing where one line breaks and another line begins. And at the end here, because we are using poetry, we cite lines instead of citing page numbers. And I put illustrations because it's actually two different examples of figurative language. The rivers, the love is the rivers that can't be quenched. The love is something that cannot be repaid. And these are the illustrations in that they are quotations directly from Anne Bradstreet's poem. Looking ahead to the next sentence, in line 8, she writes metaphorically that her love for Simon is a boundless, raging fire, one that could not be extinguished by any amount of water. She uses the imagery of nature's vast power to describe the strength and intensity of her love. Okay, so we got a line of analysis right there about line 8. It's talking about the figurative language, that would be the metaphor of love being compared to a fire. Hard for us to find as loving, perhaps, in Southern California this time of year. In line 9, she shifts the comparison of her love from fire to debt, suggesting that she is the beneficiary of a transaction of wealth that is so immense and valuable that she will never be able to fully repay it, and that she is grateful and glad for it. This metaphor of indebtedness, notice once again I'm using a literary term that keeps me out of that dangerous just summarizing area of indebtedness, illustrates the idea that Bradstreet can never be able to fully deserve the magnitude of Simon's love. And again, this whole area is analysis. This is me showing the reader, hey, I'm in charge here. I'm just not chaining together a bunch of quotes, but I'm going to show you how this poem uses figurative language and real quick shifts in it in order to create this intense expression of love. And then finally, our last sentence, this abrupt and striking change in the figurative language of these two lines helps portray the Bradstreet's love as a powerful, almost unlimited force that transcends any single representation. Now, that last sentence is really a recasting of the topic sentence in different wording. And again, it helps bring that point, back home with greater clarity. Again, keep in mind that concluding sentence is optional, but it can be a nice way to bring it back. I mean, in some ways, this paragraph's a little complicated because it's talking about figurative language in two different instances and two different lines, and it's talking about how the shift in figurative language is making kind of this wild, untamed, boundless intensity. So I think it's a good move there. Now, you might want to ask yourself, do I have a topic sentence that really works? However could I know? Well, I've got a real quick and easy question you ask yourself when you are looking at topic sentences in your own work, or if you want to test to see if somebody else has an accurate topic sentence. This becomes really important when you're doing peer review, because your job is to make sure that you are able to assess those structural features for your peer. Your first task is to ask yourself, is this paragraph mainly all about, and then you just say the topic sentence right there, or what you're trying to determine is the topic sentence or not. So if we jumped back, the topic, we would say something like, is this paragraph mainly all about how Anne Bradstreet uses quick shifts in imagery in order to show a vivid intensity of her love for her husband? That's a paraphrase, but it's pretty close. And I would say, I think so. Yeah, that seems pretty good. The answer is yes. You have found the topic sentence. Happy emoji. If the answer is no, keep looking. Sad emoji. It's quite possible it's not there. Now, this brings me to another important point. When you are structuring your own body paragraphs, it's going to be tempting to write the paragraph at the top and go all the way down and start with that topic sentence. And then write, after the topic sentence, your restatement or restriction, then your illustration, then your analysis, then your concluding question. I'm going to mess with people again here and say, I don't think you should start at the top, just like you don't want to start at the introduction. The whole reason those body paragraphs exist are because of the illustration that you put in the middle. So start with the illustration, type it out, put it right in there. After that, write your analysis. Once you've got that illustration and analysis in your body paragraph, it's going to be a whole lot easier to condense and distill that information in order to build a topic sentence. All right, so that's enough of that. I had a few more things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to try to slide them into this presentation before I run out of time. Now, for an extra treat, you will also find in your Week 7 learning materials an example essay that was written by one of my English students. And this was for an English 1C class, but which is Intro to Lit. But it works extremely well for 75A also. It's about The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. We will be reading that a little bit later. A lot of the weird, spooky stuff happens around Halloween time, so that'll be fun. And the author basically makes the argument that Ichabod Crane has this idea that he is somehow a noble knight, but that his attempts at knighthood are ridiculously inadequate and foolish and even humorous. It doesn't mean perverse as in relating to some kind of preferences regarding sexuality or something like that, but perverse just meaning twisted or off the norm or somehow reverse or oppositional. So anyway, it's nothing to do with that more common definition. But anyway, it's a fantastic essay, and if you want a little practice with TRIAC to see how it works, out in the wild, print this out or at least open it up and get some highlighters and either circle those topic sentences or annotate them using your comment function. Go to review here, and then you can insert a comment. You could say thesis statement, or topic sentence rather. Boom, and it is well structured. She's actually finishing up at UC Riverside. This student. I've changed her name, of course, but anyway, this is a great way to take a look at what the expectations are for this essay, and its formatting is really solid. You even get an example of the works cited page, which will be important. You notice you've got the name of the author, the title of the piece, the title of the anthology, the editor, etc. If this isn't making sense, talk to me about it. You can also go to OWL, Google OWL, Purdue. That's short for Online Writing Lab. And in the Online Writing Lab, go to MLA format, and they will show you a works cited page. And the citation that you want is a work in an anthology. We're not reading a single book that just has Legend of Sleepy Hollow. It's in an anthology, a collection of smaller works. So that'll help you with that. All right, Last thing we'll talk about in this video will be avoiding dropped quotations. Now, this is really relevant to how we build our body paragraphs. And it's a way to create a smooth transition into that illustration part of your paragraph. And it can be used in all kinds of writing in college and in other professional situations as well. The big important point is that all information from your outside sources, both quoted and paraphrased, should be introduced with a signal phrase. Now that signal phrase is going to have three elements to it. The author or the speaker of the information, that's the first one. The second one is going to be some version of the word says or writes or thinks. And then finally, a claim to authority. In other words, why is this person an authority? Why is this a person that we should believe on this kind of source? Now, let's take a look at it. Oh, they all popped up at once. I didn't expect that to happen. According to founding father Benjamin Franklin. Okay, notice here we got the person's name, check. We've got a version of says, writes, or thinks. That's our according to. And we've got, a claim to authority as a founding father. Notice in some of these others, we've got that name, Phyllis Wheatley, Thomas Paine, Laude Equiano. And we've got that version of says, writes, or thinks. But we don't have is that third element, which is a claim to authority. Well, if the person is extremely well known, or if it's what it's really, the whole thing that the writing is all about, the name itself can be a claim to authority. So if you're writing a whole essay on Phyllis Wheatley and how important she was as the first African American poet, etc., you probably have already established her as an important and authoritative figure for what you're going to be discussing about her. My other big point here is that you can also use signal phrases with other kinds of verbs. Argues, contends, points out, notices, da-da-da-da. That's all paint job stuff. The very first time you're writing it out, just say, so-and-so says, or so-and-so writes. Don't be going nuts, thinking about synonyms while you're in the rough draft stage, right? Hardest thing is getting out that first rough draft. Just pound it out. Don't expect it to be beautiful. Just expect to put the big ideas, the big gears in place. Then you can go back and you can worry about flow and variety and all that kind of stuff. The hardest thing, like I said, is getting out that draft. Okay, now let's show what it looks like when you don't use it versus what it looks like when you do use it. When you don't use it, look how it can come across. Suppose you're writing about the importance of the American Revolution to developing a sense of American phrases or American thought about challenges or adversity. Writers during the American Revolution gave us many memorable phrases. Not the greatest topic sentence, but you get it. Now are the times that try men's souls. Parentheses, Paine, 646. Now, the parentheses citation is perfect, but here's the deal. This quotation is just dropped in. It's just like, BAM! Somebody just slapped it right there on the table. That's a huge problem. Can you feel how clunky it is? If you close your eyes and listen to it again, what you're going to realize is you have no idea where that quotation is coming from. Now look how it sounds, or listen to how it sounds in the second version. Writers during the American Revolution gave us many memorable phrases. For example, Thomas Paine wrote, "Now are the times that try men's souls." Here Thomas Paine is being used. His name is also the claim of authority, and we've got the version of says, writes, or thinks. This is really crucial. I will expect to see this as well too. And again, don't worry about variety first. Just slide it in and make sure you've got those big parts in place. That's it for this video. I'll be back soon to post a little bit more information.